some peace of mind. But TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat. And someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line. And Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. I'm just sitting here scrolling, my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just
Hey guys, it's Mo. It is Tuesday the 14th and we have got a ton of news for you today. As you can see, I have all of the Tabity tabs open, but there are a lot of headlines, and thank you so much, Rickles, for the 5 memberships, and those are going to, gotta find my pen. Those went to Kathy Trout, Ann S., Morak 101, Is Spirit Fleck, and Wishful She-Devil. Congratulations. Welcome to the Church of Mo. We have dark chocolate true crime and dark humor. Just no plastic recorders. We firmly are against those. As a mom of 6, I can tell you that those plastic recorder hot cross buns things are labeled audio assault weapons in my book. Thank you so much, Rickles, and welcome to all you new members. So our first story is, honest to goodness, what in the Walmart rapture? I have been bringing you guys this case as it's moved through, to its inevitable conclusion, but this is stunning, and it is going to be a big thing, I think. Now, a stunning new ruling in the mysterious 2011 stabbing of a Philadelphia teacher, Ellen Greensburg, has again been ruled as a self-deletion. Again, this is the craziest thing. I believe that they will bring up a graphic to show where she received injuries that she supposedly did to herself. The bizarre 2011 death of a beloved Philadelphia schoolteacher who was found with 20 stab wounds was yet again ruled a suicide, but her family's attorney blasted the latest report as quote-unquote tripe. Now, in the latest report on the high-profile case released on Friday, the coroner's office said a new review of the evidence determined that Ellen Greensburg, 27, likely took her own life on January 26, 2011 in her apartment. Now, Greensburg was found with stab wounds all over, including the back of her neck, head, and her heart. Quote, while distributions of injuries are admittedly unusual, the fact remains that Ellen would have been capable of inflicting all these injuries herself, said Philadelphia's chief medical examiner Lindsay Simon. Now, I don't know who in the heck thinks this is absolutely true, but really, just because you can, I could bungee jump, but I'm not gonna. Now, Simon's described Greenberg as a young woman who suffered from anxiety. Again, I also suffer from anxiety. With all this information considered, it is the opinion of the undersigned that the manner of Ellen Greensburg's death is best classified as a self-deletion. Simon wrote Friday, all opinions state in this report are expressed with a reasonable degree of medical certainty. So this is just, what a sad thing for her parents. I don't think anyone believes this. Again, to show you a distribution of the wounds that this woman had, many of them were from behind her. This is ridiculous. Now, this ruling is the latest twist in this wild case, which has seen Greensburg's heartbroken parents twice sue the medical examiner and city for allegedly botching this investigation. In a scathing statement to the Post on Monday, Joseph Pedraza, a partner with the law firm of Lamb and McErlin, which represents her parents, called the new medical examiner report tripe. I mean, do they think we're all stupid? There is no way. It includes false claims like the assertion that a stab wound in Ellen's spinal column was made during the autopsy, a theory rejected by every credible expert, including the city's own neuropathologist. Now, Pedraza says that Simon's review is deeply flawed and ignored unexplained bruises, missing surveillance footage from the scene, and a recreation that found that Greensburg could not cause the wounds. Simon builds a flimsy case based on distorted portrayals of Ellen's mental health, propped up by cynical distortions of her managed anxiety, a condition that's widely experienced every day by over 40 million Americans, the lawyer said. Shame on you, Simon. Now, Greensburg was found dead in her Philadelphia apartment by her fiancé, Sam Goldberg, during a blizzard. Again, this is injustice. Now, an autopsy determined that she was riddled with bruises and suffering over 20 stab wounds, including to her neck, back, head, and heart, with a knife found protruding from her chest. Now, Goldberg was never considered a suspect. In the initial autopsy report, the then assistant coroner, Marlon Osborne, had ruled her death a homicide. But weeks later, that was changed when Osborne met with Philadelphia police and bizarrely changed his ruling to self-deletion, sparking the first wave of controversy over this particular case. Now, in 2023, an appellate court called the police investigation into the teacher's death deeply flawed, but upheld the ME's self-deletion ruling. Now, Osborne later flipped again in February, calling it something other than self-deletion. Now, the dead women's parents, Sandy and Josh Greenberg, questioned the self-deletion ruling and filed their lawsuits, meanwhile enlisting the services of two forensic experts to dispute the self-deletion ruling. Now, in February, the Greensburgs settled their claims in exchange for an undisclosed amount of damages and an agreement by the city that their daughter's case would again be reviewed. So they reviewed their daughter's case again and continue to put this absolute BS out there that this is a self-deletion. I am incredibly heartbroken for these parents. I can't imagine what it feels like to have your daughter's, crime, your daughter's death looked at and ignored multiple times and having to fight the entire state to get justice. This is just absolutely heartbreaking, and I hope that there is something that can be done. This is ridiculous. Now, you guys know I don't go political on this, but this is a headline that's coming out. And as for anyone who's lost a family member, I hope that Mitt Romney is getting comfort and support from his family and, his relatives. Now, Mitt Romney's sister-in-law, Carrie Elizabeth, was found dead at 64 on an LA suburb street. Now, the sister-in-law of former presidential nominee and ex-Utah Senator Mitt Romney was found dead on a street in the Los Angeles suburb Friday evening, according to both officials and reports. Now, Carrie Elizabeth Romney was discovered dead on the street near a shopping mall parking garage in Valencia, California, around 8:30 p.m. She was 64 years old, and her death is being investigated, though the cause and manner have not been determined, according to the coroner's office in LA. Let's see. You could have been a father, Jeff Montgomery is right. He's been a member for 9 months. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of his political stance, but every person's a person, and if I lost one of my siblings, I'd be devastated. So on that level, I feel terrible for them. Now, it's unknown at the moment if Carrie possibly self-deleted or fell from the multi-story parking lot nearby the building. Now, the medical examiner's office and Mitt Romney did not respond to requests for, any sort of commentary. I'm guessing, and again, whenever anyone loses someone by their own hand, it's a terribly tragic thing. And hopefully her family and his family is getting the support they need. Now, that being said, this we don't know what's going on here, so I'm sure there will be more coming out about this. I don't plan to, really keep up with this case unless there is something that is absolutely wonky coming out. But I do extend comfort to the Romney family and hope that they are getting the support they need right now. In, again, New England, what is your problem? I got fired up and heated about this. Now, my mother was a New York PD cop who gave her life to New York, but the state won't give me her pension to help raise my siblings. Now, this is much more of a New York thing, but this just breaks my heart. Now, I haven't read the whole article, but we are going to get in this because the more people get this story out, maybe New York will feel named and shamed to do something. Now, Genesis Vieja was remembered as being the loudest, proudest parent, cheering as twins Peter and Delilah crossed their stage at their 2023 high school graduation. But looking around at the stands with giddy moms and dad applauding their own kid, Vieja was thunderstruck by the stinging reminder that her mother wasn't there. Okay, so I read that sentence completely wrong. Genesis is the sister who stepped up to become a mother to her siblings. Not having our mom there to see them graduate was heart-wrenching, sobbed Vieja, 28, from the Bronx, who told the Post in her first in-depth interview since her mom, NYPD detective Mitosis Famia, was shot in the line of duty on July 2017, or in July 2017. She's speaking out now ahead of upcoming state assembly hearing over her proposed bill, which seeks death pension benefits for orphan children. There are so many milestones and important moments that she should be here for, Genesis said, but she had her life stolen from her. Now, in the split second that, a gun person, Alex Brooks, took their mother from them, Genesis became, a single mother to both Peter and Delilah at the age of 20. Her 12-year-old siblings are now her adopted children. And for 8 years, she has, been the parent to these children, taking them to doctor's appointments, helping them with their homework, birthday parties, getting them ready for college, all of those things. Now, everyone thinks that children of NYPD officers are always taken care of and protected, said Genesis, whose mother served on the force for 12 years. But the law as it stands is extremely discriminatory and punitive against orphan children of first responders who die in the line of duty. She chose not to disclose the monetary value of her mother's pension for privacy reasons. However, surviving relatives of a police officer, lost in the line of duty are eligible to receive half of the officer's final compensation, special accident death benefits, and cities' increased take-home pay at a percentage of the employee's salary toward their pension, healthcare and union benefits, at least $10,000 from the police release fund, and all of that. However, those are exclusively awarded to either the parents or spouses of first responders for life. Orphan children can only receive the funds until the age of 21. Now, the law would extend that limit to 23, but only if the child was in college. Now, as it stands, both Peter and Delilah, now 20 and juniors at an in-state college university, will be barred from receiving support by 2028. Well, that is true, Jeff Montgomery. I don't see this changing, but this is a tragic story, and children should be able to receive these benefits, with a guardian or something. This is ridiculous. I am ticked off beyond all, things. Now, Genesis says that these limitations are inhumane. They don't expect parents or spouses to hold full time jobs in order to get benefits. My bill changes those restrictions. Now, her bill has been sponsored by State Senator Gustavo Riviera and Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz. So hopefully, they did try to get a vote through. However, the assembly decided to vote against that bill because it was going to be too costly. But the first time it was rolled out, but will be introduced into this upcoming 2026 agenda. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I do hope that the children of fallen police officers are better taken care of. This is ridiculous and really upsetting to find out how, this woman, became the bonus mom that her siblings needed, and she didn't get the support that she needed. In a very freak accident and heartbreaking story, a concert goer has passed away after a freak accident at a Utah music festival to see Post Malone. A festival goer was killed outside a popular country music festival in Utah when she was struck by a piece of falling debris from nearby construction sites while fleeing from intense weather. Now, Ava Ahader was outside Red West Music Festival in Utah State Fair Park in Salt Lake City when powerful wind gusts ripped a large plank from a scaffolding and sent it toward her, according to the Salt Lake Tribune. Now, the 23-year-old was evacuating the fairgrounds with other attendees and 3 friends to find shelter from high winds when the massive plank fell about 30 feet as she and her friends stepped out of her car, unfortunately crushing her and her vehicle. Now, she was rushed to the hospital with critical life-threatening injuries. Now, the young cute country music fan has passed away from her injuries. Ahander, who grew up in American Fork and had been living in Seattle, returned to the Beehive State with her friends to enjoy the music festival and see Post Malone. Her uncle, Bobby Adlander, wrote in a heartbreaking Facebook post. She was just having fun. She loved fun, and it was really fun to be around her. Honestly, it's been excruciating, both the grief and sorrow, and of course, it's such a big surprise and a huge loss. Her uncle said that his niece and her friend stood outside the vehicle and the plank hit her in what he called a freak accident. Now, though first responders were able to get some vital signs at the scene, it was later determined that she just had no brain activity. Now, her family said she was kept on life support just long enough for them all to get to say their goodbyes. Ava was a beautiful soul whose kindness, warmth, and adventurous spirit touched everyone around her. Family members wrote on GoFundMe to help them with both funeral and medical expenses, and to provide funds for her friends who witnessed the tragedy to attend grief and trauma therapy. Even in her passing, Ava continues to give the gift of life to others as an organ donor, a final act of generosity that truly reflects her caring nature and her desire to help those in need. Now, her love for music was only matched for her love for the outdoors, ocean, and her life in the Pacific Northwest. After graduating from American Fork High School, she headed to Oregon for college before settling in Seattle. So, absolutely hope that her family is getting the support and care they need, and the friends too. I can imagine having to watch someone very close to me go through that. So I hope that they are all getting the love and support that they need during that. Well, Alec Baldwin ran into a tree. At least he didn't punch any paparazzi this time. Or, need a, what is it? Oh gosh, what was Hannah Gutierrez Reed? He didn't have her. Alec Baldwin crashed his Range Rover into a tree in the Hamptons. Not that this is big news, but he is such a douche canoe sometimes that anytime that he's doing something. Now, Emmy Award-winning actor Alec Baldwin plowed his Range Rover into a tree while cruising through the Hamptons with his brother on Monday. Now, Baldwin, 67, was photographed looking disheveled and annoyed. I mean, couldn't we just call that his normal look? as he stood with his hands in his pocket at the crash site. Now, his car, a white Range Rover, was smashed in the front and crashed head on into a tree on the side of Montauk Highway in East Hamptons. Now, police quickly arrived on the scene and helped the duo take shelter in the pouring rain. So it does look like they were kind of caught in this nor'easter. And as much as I don't like Alec Baldwin, I am glad that he's safe and okay. He is a dad, he does have kids, and, I'm glad that he is okay just for his family. Personally, I think he could, change his attitude a whole hell of a lot and be a nicer person. But I'm glad that a family you know, isn't mourning the loss of their loved one now. That being said, when you're a douche canoe things happen to you. Well, I mean, now Donna's gonna say, this is who Donna blames. And I will this weekend probably be watching her sentencing because I've heard it was wild as 10 pounds of crazy in a 2-pound sack. And I have my Donna wig back, so I just need to remember my Brooklyn accent. And we will be doing a Donna roast to self this weekend. That's what we are going to be doing. She is stuck in God's asshole Tallahassee for the rest of her life. I couldn't be happier. A Florida matriarch sentenced to life in prison for the hired killing of her, ex-son-in-law. Tallahassee forever. Donna. I just want to send her a card that says, "Welcome to Tallahassee forever." Donna Adelson, the matriarch of a wealthy South Florida family who was convicted in the hired killing of her former son-in-law, was sentenced Monday to life in prison for her role in the 2014 murder for hire of Dan Markel. And might I say that Dan Markel's family, his mother, has been just a picture of grace during all of this, during these long waiting years where she had to wait for justice for her son. And she just has been a pillar of strength. I don't know how that woman got up every day and, had to look at these people that she thought were never going to get justice and, continue to go to that courtroom every day. That's strength right there. Now, a prominent Florida State University professor, Daniel, was locked in a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Adelson's daughter, Wendy, when he was gunned down in 2014 at his home in Tallahassee. Now, Adelson, 75, was found guilty last month of the first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation after a weeks-long trial. Now, she was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the murder charge, with an additional 30 years for the other 2 counts to be served consecutively. Now, Adelson has pledged to appeal. Well, just because you had a terrible lawyer doesn't mean you get to appeal. In an emotional statement ahead of the sentencing in a Tallahassee courtroom, Adelson swore that she was innocent and cast her trial as a miscarriage of justice, overseen by a jury, she said, that was unduly swayed by years of negative media attention. Well, you and Sarah Boone can talk all about us mean YouTubers. What happened to Danny is unforgivable, but I'm an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence, Adelson said. I've always respected the law. I've never even gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I didn't commit, she added. Now, Circuit Judge Stephen Everett interrupted Adelson multiple times, warning her that her statement showed what he termed an utter lack of remorse for the crime. Shackled and dressed in a purple jail jumpsuit, Adelson stood attentively while Everett handed down the sentence. You can certainly choose to deny your involvement and maintain innocence. The court finds the evidence in this case clear, Everett said. The case had captivated people in Florida for more than a decade amid sordid details of a messy divorce, tensions with wealthy in-laws, and custody fights that led to the killing. Now, Adelson was the 5th person sentenced for what prosecutors say was a plot to take Dan Markel's life. Now, among those already serving a life sentence for the killing is Adelson's son, Charlie Adelson, and Catherine McBanawa and her boyfriends. One was her baby daddy, and the other one was another Latin king. Now, at the trial, prosecutors painted Donna Adelson as the calculated and controlling matriarch of an affluent South Florida family with the means and motive to orchestrate the killing of the son in law she now hated. Now, defense attorneys insisted that the state didn't have sufficient evidence to link the aging grandmother to the murder plot, instead, emphasized the roles played by others in casting suspicion on two of Adelson's adult children. Wendy Adelson has denied involvement in the killing and has not been charged. I do wonder if she will be charged after this. Now, that is what I'm wondering. I do think the people of Florida and, the rest of us who have been caught up in the Dan Markel case are wondering if Wendy will ever face justice. And as you guys know, with our legal system, there has to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So we might have all the conjecture, all the inferences, all the sussity sus stuff that went on, but unless the state can prove it, they should not bring a case against her. And I know that's frustrating. I know that's irritating for all of us who do believe that Wendy was, if not the mastermind, definitely the nexus that started all of this. But can you prosecute someone for being a nexus if they didn't have any links? I'm sure that's something, I'm sure much smarter people than me in the Florida DA's office are looking at all of these. I'm a redhead on the interwebs. So, but I do wonder if there is going to be, a further Wendy Adelson trial after this. Now, peop, police in Wichita are asking the public to be aware and pay attention. They released a video of a possible abduction showing a woman being pulled kind of by her hair away from a front door. Now, Wichita police are asking for the public's help identifying a woman who was reportedly taken by force early Sunday morning, an incident that has left neighbors feeling uneasy. Now, authorities posted both the photos and surveillance footage showing a woman last seen around 2 a.m. on Sunday, October the 12th, near North Volusta, between Grove and Hillside in Wichita. Now, investigators have pursued multiple leads throughout the day and thanked the community for its support. We've worked throughout the day on this investigation and have been following up on numerous leads and appreciate the public's help. Now, so far, neither the man or woman seen in this footage have been identified. Now, police say they are considering all possibilities and have enlisted help from both regional and federal agencies. Now, in the 20-second clip, a woman is dragged away from a front door as she screams for help. Now, the footage appears to have been captured by a residential security camera, according to authorities, a doorbell camera. Investigators enhanced the audio of the camera to reduce background noise, hoping that someone might recognize the woman's voice. Now, you are urged to contact Wichita detectives if you have any information. Investigators are also following up on a call from Oklahoma, initially believed to be connected to the case, but was later determined to be, unrelated. Now, one resident who returned recently from visiting a family in Mexico said the situation has her worried about young women in the area. It's dangerous, that's the truth, but always, I believe, there have always been kidnappers, she told KAKE News, adding that she's never seen anything like this happen in her own personal neighborhood. Now, as of Monday afternoon, police reported no significant updates. So that's all we know thus far, but I will keep a lookout if there's any more, information or things like that. Well, it does seem that more is coming out. Now, whether this story is sensational to give people news or this was a factor that did encourage Brian Koberger to plead guilty, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it could be six of one, half a dozen of the other. Brian Koberger took a plea deal just days after learning that his sister was going to be on the prosecution witness list. So again, this might be something that did, factor into his equation when he pled guilty, but we don't know this officially. So I'm bringing you the headlines, but this is people speculation. Brian Koberger may have been forced to face off with his sister in court had his case gone to trial. Amanda Koberger was listed as one of the witnesses that prosecutors might have called to testify at her brother's murder trial. She was the only immediate family member of the Koberger family that was on the prosecutor's witness list, which was recently ordered to unseal by Ada County Judge Stephen Hippler. Now, it was just a few days after this motion was filed on June 25th, 2025, that Koberger did agree to the plea deal with prosecutors. Latah County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson said previously that he did not believe that Koberger's family had anything to help his case should he call them to testify, but Amanda might have been the one exception because her brother had been charged with a misdemeanor theft of allegedly stealing her cell phone in 2014. It was Koberger's father who reported the theft, according to court records. Now, other notable names included among the 180 potential witnesses whom prosecutors might have called to testify at the trial were surviving roommates Bethany Funk and Dylan Morrison, and victim Ethan Chapin's triplet brother and sister, both Hunter and Maisie Chapin. Now, those two siblings were the only immediate family members of any of the victims who were set to testify, likely because they were both at the scene on the morning that the victims' bodies were discovered. In the wake of Koberger accepting a deal with prosecutors that saw him plead guilty to 4 counts of murder to avoid execution, Stady Chapin, the mother of Ethan and the triplets, says she was relieved that her children and the surviving roommates would no longer be required to testify and relive their painful memories of that day. It does. It does. Now, in addition to the list of witnesses prosecutors plan to call during the guilt phase of the trial, Judge Hippler was also unsealing the witnesses of the defense that they planned to call during the mitigation phase of the trial. Now, Koberger's sister would have potentially been pulling double duty, as her name also appeared on her brother's witness list, which is not abnormal. I mean, I know they're trying to make this very sensational, but it would not be abnormal to have mitigating or character witnesses for a mitigation be family members. Now, Amanda was one of the 56 individuals the defense planned to possibly call in order to provide testimony that might reduce Koberger's culpability in the murders of Chapin, Zana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonclaves, and Madison Mogan. Hippler. Look, I am trying... P. And look, I'm just never going to say it again. That being said, now other names included Koberger's other sister, Melissa, his parents, Michael and Marianne, and Washington State University professor John Snyder. Now, Koberger had worked as a TA for Snyder at WSU. His inclusion on the list was a bit of a surprise, as Snyder complained about Koberger after a verbal altercation between the pair, which resulted in the criminology department issuing Koberger with a warning about good deal. Warning about his conduct. Now, in a meeting with members of faculty, which took place 2 weeks before the murders, Koberger was actually given an improvement plan. There was some improvement in Koberger's professional behavior at first, but by the end of the first semester, things had again deteriorated to the point where he was informed that he would no longer have his position when he returned the following semester. Now, after his arrest, WSU issued a letter prohibiting from ever stepping foot on campus again. I think the conviction will also help with that. Now, there won't be any chance for that, as Koberger is currently serving 4 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Now, Amanda and Koberger's mother, Marianne, were both present for his sentencing on July 23rd, 2025. And no, Jeff Montgomery, a performance improvement plan for his teaching assistant position. He basically had to talk to people like he wasn't a jackass, and he couldn't even do that. So they told him, no, you won't be a TA anymore. Now, I don't know who is this dumb, but even my directionally challenged behind that can, barely tell my left from my right wouldn't do this. A tourist is blaming Google's terrible navigation after toppling into a canal. Maybe here's why you shouldn't use its map in Venice. It took her on a trip to the falls. Just in case we weren't becoming overly reliant on Google Maps, a Polish tourist fell into a canal in Venice, Italy, after the ubiquitous navigation app allegedly led her astray, per an Instagram video going viral. When Google Maps says go straight, but you're in Venice, said Wizorka Gonzia, captioned her clip of her epic waterfall. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm not. Yeah, but who does this? I'm not walking into water. I'm looking at. I mean, are we in the office? This is. No. Why would you do. No. That being said, if Google Maps has you walking into water, don't. That's just my general life guru advice. Now, the accompanying clip trip, shows the traveler walking downstairs in the city of canals while on her phone, while all of a sudden she slips and falls into the water like a slapstick comedy movie. It then cuts to the tourist, tending some nasty scrapes on her leg that she sustained during her inadvertent channel surfing moment. Now, many viewers ridiculed the Globetrotter's predicament, with one writing, "So, what did she think would happen walking down stone steps into a water?" Another mocked, "Maybe stop blindly following GPS and actually look at, what's around you and use your brain. You kind of just walked into this," quipped a third. Now, others were skeptical that it was a Google Map issue at all. She clearly slipped, and she probably just going to stop there on that step to take a photo. LOLOL, said one commenter. However, as many gawkers noted, Instagram feeds are filled with tales of people taking a spill into the Italian Mecca's labyrinthine waterways. Yeah, but still, if it says go straight and I see a body of water, I'm not going to do it. Meanwhile, Venice tourist sites have noted that Google Maps is notoriously unreliable in the floating city for various reasons. For one, Venice doesn't use traditional street addresses like other cities, but rather employs a complex system called sisteries, or districts with sequential numbering that can jump from building to building unpredictably. They also attributed the difficulty to undetectable dead ends that are simply blocked by water. The app doesn't recognize the impassability of some bridges and narrow passageways that are treated like normal streets. The app also doesn't account for the constantly changing water levels, which can render certain routes temporarily impassable. Google Map frequently directs tourists to routes that simply don't exist or are blocked by canals, tour leader Venice writes. Many visitors find themselves standing at an edge of a canal with no bridge, exactly where Google Maps say they should turn. Now, there are a whole thread and series of threads on Facebook where tourists kvetch about the Odyssey-like experience of getting around Venice with GPS. That's why many travel sites recommend that people swap out Google Maps for a real tour guide, paper maps, or Venice-specific navigation apps. Yeah. I love Mr. Limpet. That was like my favorite old Disney movie. I don't know why, but I always felt really glad that he became a happy fish instead of a boring accountant or whatever he was. Well, this is why we can't have nice things, people. Regardless of what you feel about Christopher Columbus, you should feel okay about protecting other people's property. And why are these idiots always allowed? Like, does no one check these people's bags? If you look like you have a liberal arts degree and you're coming into my museum, I'm checking your backpack. And I include me in this because I change my hair crazy colors. I'd profile me. Climate activist hurled red paint at a Christopher Columbus mural in a caught on video vandalism act. Their defense attorney is going to be so proud of them. This is not how you celebrate Columbus Day. A pair of crazed climate activists were busted Sunday after hurling red paint at a mural of Christopher Columbus in a, well, I mean, now just kind of a run of the mill, I'm a whiny, attentiony brat. Now, the two vandals are members of a radical group, Futura Vegetal, and were caught throwing red paint at the first tribute to Christopher Columbus, a massive mural of the Italian-born explorer painted in 1892 by artist Jose Garneo and displayed at Madrid's Naval Museum. The activist group, which names loosely translate to Vegetarian Future, also unfurled a banner reading October 12th, nothing to celebrate, eco-social justice. Yeah, are they allowed to have Snickers? Because I feel like they'd be much happier.
What temperature do I set it at?
I was helping Mr. Mo set the potato soup he likes at a right temperature. So he was like, well, what temperature does the need to be? I am tired of these miserable, whiny people. I, for one, don't like people littering. I don't want, to be a bad steward to the world or country, but I'm really done. Yeah, Mr. Mo came in. I was helping him we make the copycat Zuppa de Toscana from Olive Garden. So I was, so I was reminding him at what temperature you keep it. Yeah, just stop this. Stop being absolute, spoiled little baby brats. If you want to have a protest, have a protest. Don't do it on the street. I'm done with them. Well, it looks like we might have figured out how those big, giant, statues on Easter Island, got put up. The origin of Easter Island's iconic head statues is one of the world's greatest archaeological puzzles. But now, scientists claim to have solved at least one important part of the mystery. Weighing between 12 and 80 tons, scientists have long wondered how the island's ancient civilization might have moved the huge stone statues into place. Godoy, I learned this on the History Channel, ancient aliens. Ancient aliens use their magical gravitational powers and or ropes. It's almost like ropes would work too. Using a combination of 3D modeling and real life experience or experiments, scientists have confirmed that the statues were actually walked to their final destinations. Okie dokie. After studying nearly 1,000 of the heads known as Moi, anthropologists have found that the people of Rapa Nui probably used ropes to rock the statues in a zigzag pattern. Now, the technique would have allowed small teams of people to move the enormous statues over long distances with relatively little effort. Now, co-author of the study, Professor Carl Lippo of Binghamton University says once you get it moving, it's not that hard at all. People are moving with one arm. It conserves energy and it moves really quick. The hard part is getting it rocking in the first place. Interesting. So they kind of just used the ropes and wiggled it, like how I'd move things when Mr. Mo is busy doing something and I want to do it all by my own self. I mean, makes perfect sense. We've all kind of shimmied something when it's too heavy. So, hey, look, I'm not doing English today. Just not doing English. Not whatsoever. Just refuse. Now, previously, anthropologists had thought that they must have been laid flat and pulled to their destinations that way. Now, this would have been a enormously strenuous task requiring a large number of people, and it would have been almost impossible for some of the larger heads to be moved flat, kind of in a prone position. However, there's new mounting evidence to suggest that the people had come up with a more elegant solution. By attaching ropes to either side of the head and pulling back and forth, they could basically rock back and forward and kind of get the statue to do a bit of a walking motion. I mean, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't have thought of that. I just don't know that I would have spent my life studying it. But there you go. Now, I have just like 5 questions as to this next story, but that's actually going to be going with Lord Chippy because we've got Final Form Jesus stories to do first. And I realized I hadn't put that in with the, name and shame Lord Chippy stories. Sometimes I am on my game and sometimes I'm not. But in the stories that will make you wonder what in the Walmart rapture, we've got some doozies, you guys. So buckle in. The strange stories of the day that I've been up since 4 a.m. digging the internet for. Here you go.
The key-keeped scrolls, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, Final Form Jesus return in wrath. With 6-pack listening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Well, it's the revenge of Harambe. It looks like a gorilla was able to smash through the glass in his enclosure, at least crack the glass. I'm just never going to the zoo ever again because I don't think that the gorilla likes it there. A startling video has captured a gorilla smashing a glass wall of the San Diego Zoo enclosure. A massive gorilla was seen charging into the wall of its enclosure at the California Zoo, actually smashing a portion of the thick glass panel in front of horrified onlookers. Denny, a 10-year-old Western lowland gorilla, shattered one layer of the 3-layer tempered glass panel at the San Diego Zoo's gorilla forest habitat on Saturday. Now, zoo officials have confirmed this happened in a statement to the Post. Well, I mean, there's kind of evidence it's cracked. Now, footage obtained by CBS 8 captured him catapulting toward the glass wall, causing several onlookers to gasp and scream as they walked away from the habitat. Now, images also showed members of the crowd investigating the partially shattered panel following the, Smash Bro session. Now, Denny the gorilla was not injured during the incident. He and the other gorilla living in the enclosure will be cared for while the panel is replaced. It's common for male gorillas, especially in adolescence, to express these type of behaviors. Bursts of energies, charging, dragging items, or running sideways are all natural in young male gorillas, a spokesperson for the San Diego Zoo said. Now, previously, Denny had lived with his other siblings, including his brother Macca, who unfortunately passed away in August at the age of 30 from what they think is a cardiac event. Now, Dr. Ellen Riley, an anthropology professor at San Diego State University, said several factors could have provoked the behavior. Gorillas, particularly males, will often do what we call charge displays as a kind of act like showing off, Riley told the outlet. What I don't know, of course, since I wasn't there, is whether or not there was something that provoked this kind of display behavior. One of the things that gorillas actually don't like is to be stared at directly in the eyes. That's not something that zoo visitors always understand. So it's possible that the large primate was simply having fun, but since his attention was directed at the glass, it could also indicate that something occurred among the spectators that could have made him feel threatened. You know, Western lowland gorillas are the largest primates in the world, with adult males weighing up to 500 pounds, according to the zoo's website. So hopefully they get that, that panel fixed and they can make it safer and maybe less uncomfortable. Maybe they can tint the glass for him. I don't know. Well, it's superwood. And only the 12-year-old in me laughed at that for about 15 minutes this morning. Scientists created superwood that's 10 times stronger than steel. A U.S. company has engineered a new type of wood that it says is up to 10 times, in strength to weight ratio, stronger than steel, while also being up to 6 times lighter. Now, Superwood just launched as a commercial product manufactured by Inventwood, a company co-founded by material scientist Lang Bing Hu. Now, over a decade ago, Hu set out on a quest to reinvent one of the oldest building materials known to mankind. While working at the University of Maryland Center for Materials Innovation, who is now a professor at Yale, found a way to re-engineer wood. Okay, how do you... I'm confused. He was even able to make it transparent by removing one of its key components, lignin, which gives wood its color and some of its strength. His real goal, however, was to make wood stronger, using cellulose, the main component of plant fiber, and the most abundant biopolymer on the planet. Now, the breakthrough came in 2017 when Hu first strengthened regular wood by chemically treating it to enhance its natural cellulose, making it a better construction material. Now, the wood is first boiled in a bath of water and selected chemicals, then hot pressed to collapse it at a cellular level, making it significantly denser. At the end of this week-long process, the resulting wood has a strength-to-weight ratio that's higher than that of most structural metals and alloys, according to a study that was published in the Journal of Nature. Now, after years of Hu perfecting the process and filing over 140 patents, Superwood has launched commercially. Please let it be an off-color commercial. From a chemical and a practical standpoint, it's wood, explained the Inventwood CEO, Alex Lau, who joined the business in 2021. In buildings, that would allow for structures to potentially be 4 times lighter than today, meaning they would be more earthquake resistant as well as easier on foundations, making construction both safer, faster, and easier. Now, Inventwood is manufacturing Superwood at its plant in Frederick, Maryland. And although production right now is measured in hours rather than days, it will take some time to scale up. Initially, the company plans to focus on external applications such as decking and cladding before moving on to internal applications such as wall paneling, flooring, and home furniture sometime next year. People always complain that furniture breaks down over time, and it's often because it sags or breaks down at the joints, which are currently made of metal because wood isn't strong enough. Superwood could be used to replace those parts, as well as screws, nails, and other metal fasteners. Eventually, they hope that an entire building could be constructed out of superwood, though that would require more testing. And Tammy CA, I don't know, they need to send it to my family and have youngest most feral test it out. If it survives him, it'll survive anyone. Well, I mean, $200 is $200. An OnlyFans model is selling $200 videos of nasty bodily functions. Well, I mean, it's a hard job, but someone has to do it, I guess. When people think about side hustles, they usually picture people selling vintage clothing or, ride sharing or crafting something and selling it on Etsy or Amazon. But for 23-year-old Avalon Saf, known to her fans as Lana, her most lucrative gig comes from something far less conventional: videos of herself farting. I've been paid like $200 to send a guy a video of me just farting on camera, she revealed, according to Sex, Lies, and Streaming podcast. No smell, no nothing, just a video of audible farting. What is wrong with humanity? In episode 2 of the podcast, host James Weir meets Lana and her boyfriend Ryan while they're at an adult expo in Las Vegas, where she turns heads in fishnet lingerie and a fur coat and opens up about the cheeky business of monetizing her, well, farts. While the concept might sound out of the box to outsiders, for Lana, it's all part of the job. She's a stripper by trade, and a year ago she decided to join the world of OnlyFans to fart. Thanks to her entrepreneurial spirit, she was able to break into her very own niche kink. Lana and Ryan, both from Toronto, Canada, met in high school but only started dating 3 years ago after reconnecting at a bar. Now their relationship is open, polyamorous, and built on humor. Be waiting for their Snapped episode and subsequent trial to be followed by Mo. Really. Now, Ryan is often making cameos in Lana's content as the man behind the woman. Is he feeding her bean burritos? Like, is he bringing her White Castle? What's going on here? Like, anytime I'm making content, he'll be in the background just laughing, Lana says. It's supposed to be fun. If you're not laughing, what are you doing? I don't even know what's going on here. Anytime she's making content, I'll be in the background laughing. It's kind of meta, and there's a second layer of humiliation for fans because they like that another guy is laughing at them. Men, you're paying women to have men laugh at you? I can laugh at you for the low price of $10 a day. I will laugh at you, and okay. Now, Lana reveals that her subscribers range from curious newcomers to long-term pay pigs. The submissive fans who pay to be dominated or humiliated online. This is really a thing? Ugh, I thought furries were weird. Pay pigs have to be much weirder to me. Sometimes they just want to be called names while they send money. Again, I will be mean to you for a fraction of the price. I won't send my farts to you, but good night, nurse. Well, there you go. Some people just want to be humiliated and some people just want fart videos. So I guess it's a lucrative career if you can get it. And in our final, what in the Walmart rapture is going on here? A Wolverine frog breaks its own bones to turn them into sharp claws. That's terrifying. The African hairy frog has a particular self-destructive ability that allows it to snap its toe bones when threatened to create bone claws that pierce its skin, just like Marvel's Wolverine. The hairy frog, or Wolverine frog, is one of nature's strangest creatures. The males grow thin, hair-like skin threads on the side of their bodies and hind legs. It's a unique ability that scientists believe help the amphibians absorb more oxygen. Now, these hairs contain arteries and are thought to increase the surface area for the purpose of absorbing oxygen when the male guards the eggs in the water. But this is not the weirdest thing about hairy frogs. They have an unusual self-defense mechanism that allows them to snap their toe bones and turn them into sharp claws that pierce their skins. Well, I'm guessing it's from Africa because it's called an African hairy frog. Maybe they'll say kind of where in Africa, because Africa is a huge continent with many countries. Now, around the early 1900s, this frog was first noticed, and that they had claws, so it was an extremely rare characteristic for amphibians. It wasn't until the early 2000s that researchers discovered that these weren't actually claws made of keratin, but deformed bones. Cameroonian hunters were quite familiar with the hairy frog's sharp weapons and resorted to using spears or machetes to avoid being injured when trying to capture them. A 2008 paper citing earlier reports that noted that the frog's claws can inflict deep bleeding wounds visible to the bones on predators and humans. Yeah, well, I'm not going to Africa now. They have attack frogs. The mechanism that allows the wolverine frog to activate its sharp claws is considered unique in the animal world. Now, scientists found that each bony claw is anchored to a nodule nestled in the tissue just beyond the frog's fingertip with tough strands of collagen. Now, when attacked or grabbed, the frog is somehow able to break the nodule connection, forcing the bones through the skin. Then it violently scratches the assailant, causing deep lacerations. Well, that's horrifying. Oh, no, that's terrifying. Ugh, nope. Just nope. All the nope. Although a clear retraction mechanism for these claws has not been observed, some scientists hypothesize that the hairy frog's claws can later retract passively as the broken connective tissue regenerates. It's the amphibian's well-documented regenerative properties that make this unusual self-defense mechanism work without causing serious injury or, lameness in the frog. Now, it is native to Central African countries like Cameroon, Congo, Gabon, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, and other places where it inhabits fast-flowing rivers and forests and agricultural land. Well, just another thing, to be afraid of in they're putting chemicals in the water that are making actually this might be the only frog that would be awesome to have. I need an attack frog for my HOA for no reasons. Well, I don't know whether to be happy or not so happy about this, but Doritos are changing. Doritos are getting a bold makeover with an ingredient change. One of America's favorite snacks, Doritos, along with Cheetos, will be getting a recipe change. Hey, if you take away the artificial cheddar cheese orange dust powder, I will be mad. Now, according to PepsiCo, neither Cheetos or Doritos will be made with artificial colors or flavors after this quarter. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced in April it would be working with food industry leaders to eliminate petroleum-based dyes from the food supply by the end of the year. So among dyes that we are looking to get rid of are red dye 40, yellow 7, or yellow 5, and yellow 6. Now, Doritos Nacho Cheese has all of those, artificial colors, while Cheetos contains yellow 6. Now, these are petroleum-based synthetic dyes that are used to add color to both food or drug items. So, I don't know. I mean, you don't say that Cheetos aren't health food? Who'd have thought? That being said, I hope it'll be fine. I am constantly amazed at what the UK and EU markets will not allow in their food versus what America does. So this is a step in the right direction, and I'm kind of okay with it because I like the cooler ranch Doritos, and those are great. That being said, I'll stick with my salt and vinegar chips because I love those. Now we go to the naming and shaming part of our broadcast where I bring you the monsters that we maybe haven't heard about, tell you about their crimes, and we name and shame them along with Lord Chippy. So buckle up because there is a hell of a lot of evil in this one today, y'all.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters
No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop lordship from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Trippy's coming and he don't play games.
After SAing a girl 6 years old and keeping her in a pit with her sister's body, the duo that did it might both get plea deals. And on the face of that, that headline is infuriating, but it might be that I haven't read the article. That's kind of the deal here. We'll read the article together. But it might be the deal that in order to spare the victim, both the victim's, family and the prosecutors decided to offer plea deals to these absolute gross-tastic monsters. That being said, if it was just, for no reason, I'm going to be really pissed off. The woman accused of assisting a man who abducted two young sisters after taking the life of their mother, taking the life of the 4-year-old and keeping the 6-year-old alive as his victim, his SA slave, if you will, according to U.S. Marshals, has been offered a plea deal. Now, Victoria Cox, 34, has appeared in a Mississippi courtroom on Monday, October 13th, where prosecutors presented her defense team with a plea offer. Now, details of the deal were not shared in court, and the defense said they would have to consult with Cox before deciding whether they would agree to the deal being offered by Hinds County District Attorney's Office. Now, Cox is charged with capital murder, kidnapping, sexual battery for her alleged role in the abduction of the two girls and the murder of one. The man who masterminded the plan is 37-year-old Daniel Callahan, who confessed to his crimes in a federal court earlier this year while accepting his own plea deal. In a factual basis he signed after agreeing to enter a guilty plea to federal charges of kidnapping resulting in death and transportation of a minor with intent to engage in gross activities with them. He admitted to killing the mother of the two young girls, 35-year-old Callie Burnett, in Louisiana on the night of June 11th, 2024. He then admitted to driving the girls from their home in Loranger, a unincorporated community approximately 70 miles north of New Orleans, to Mississippi. On the next day, on June 12th, he drove back to Louisiana to pick up Cox and return to Macomb, Mississippi with her and the two young girls. Now, he said in that factual basis that he and Cox engaged in criminal grossness with a 6-year-old victim, after which he took the life of the 4-year-old sister by holding her closely to his chest, so essentially smothering her. Now, Jordan Ginsburg, a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Louisiana, said that on June 13th, a relative discovered the body of Callie and reported her two daughters missing. The surviving sister was tracked down that same day thanks to a joint effort between local, state, and federal law enforcement. Now, Callahan had stolen Callie's car, which was discovered close to the property where the girl was being held captive. Now, the 6-year-old was discovered in a dark pit where she was being kept with the body of her deceased younger sister. Again, lock this man up in the center of the sun, keep him alive, and make it never end. Just ick. And Cox, this woman that did this with him, just her too. Now, Cox managed to avoid federal charges since, unlike Callahan, all her crimes were committed in the state of Mississippi, and she agreed to testify at Callahan's federal trial for prosecutors who identified her as co-conspirator 1 in charging documents. In a post-Miranda interview with investigators, Cox corroborated Callahan's account of the SA of the 6-year-old victim, according to a signed factual basis. Now, her trial is scheduled to begin on December 8th in Mississippi should she not accept this plea deal. Heifer, go to trial. I dare you. Now, sentencing for Callahan's federal offenses is set for November 19th. Federal prosecutors agreed to not seek the death penalty if he entered guilty plea to all the charges. Now, a lawyer for Cox did not respond to people's request for comment, but this is ridiculous. And hopefully there is a little bit more information that I can dig up about the Mississippi case to see whether the prosecutors are putting forward this plea deal so that this traumatized 6-year-old girl doesn't have to testify against these monsters who hurt her ever again. But named and shamed all over the place. Monster, decroded or corroded human water, like just dumpster human water, both of them. Well, I mean, it's pretty bad when someone crawls because you're that crazy. A wheelchair bound man had to slide down apartment stairs to escape the frenzied attack by his ex-girlfriend. A Tennessee man who was, or a Tennessee woman who was wanted by police for allegedly assaulting her wheelchair bound ex boyfriend has been arrested. Justice. Tanisha Gearing, 29, was arrested by officers from the Chattanooga Police Department on Friday after a warrant was issued for her arrest on charges of DV and vandalism. Now, she posted bond and was released from custody, but according to an arrest affidavit obtained by a local ABC affiliate, the charges stemmed from an alleged incident in June 2024 involving Gearing and her former boyfriend, who told police that Gearing beat him and pulled him out of his wheelchair. And as someone who has mobility problems, this is a big fear of mine. And in fact, passing out and falling is a big fear of mine. When you aren't as steady, this is a big fear you have. It's just, ma'am, bon voyage, bitch burrito. I hope you enjoy, Gen Pop once you are fully adjudicated, of course. Now, according to the affidavit, Chattanooga police responded to a call placed on June 25th, 2024 by an unnamed man who said that Gearing, his ex-girlfriend, had broken into his home by kicking through a locked door. After screaming at him, Gearing allegedly ransacked his apartment while he attempted to escape by getting out of his wheelchair and working his way down a flight of stairs. Now, Gearing allegedly followed the man out and continued to attack him. The man told police that Gearing threw a phone at his face, leaving a cut under his eye. She also tore his shirt off and beat him with her fists before she fled the scene. Now, when police arrived, the man refused medical assistance, and officers offered him assistance from a DV advocate, but he turned them down. Now, inside the apartment, police found a baseball bat and 2 smashed TV sets, who, according to the affidavit, the witness was able to confirm the man's account of the alleged attack. Now, Gearing was charged with DV and vandalism along with malicious mischief, and her next court date is scheduled for November 12th. And regardless of, male or female or wherever you identify, if this looks like your relationship or your relationship that you're dealing with right now, you don't deserve this kind of treatment. Please consider getting out of, a relationship if this reminds you of your current relationship. It is definitely not easy. I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that it is, but it absolutely can be done. And there are people that will be waiting out there to help you. Man, woman, child, Zimzer, I don't care who you are. You don't deserve to be treated like this. Well, I cut him up. A woman who dismembered a man with a chainsaw purchased with his own money after shooting him, then buried his body in a backyard fire pit, is learning her fate. Well, I'm guessing probably jail. My 37-year-old woman in Pennsylvania will spend the remainder of her days behind bars after she admitted to taking the life of a 66-year-old man, then using a chainsaw she purchased with his money to dismember him and burn the his remains in his backyard fire pit. Erie County Judge Daniel J. Barbender Jr. on Monday ordered Marissa Jean Rodriguez to serve 40 to 80 years in a state correctional facility for the 2023 slaying of Michael Meisner. Now, Barbender handed down the sentence after Rodriguez in August pled guilty but mentally ill to a spate of felonies, including third-degree murder Erie, Pennsylvania, Jeff Montgomery. But the charges were downgraded after she reached a deal with prosecutors in Erie County. Now, court records reviewed by Law and Crime show she also pled guilty to charges of criminal mischief, possession of an instrument of a crime, possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, theft, and tampering with evidence, along with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Now, prior to handing down the sentence, which was the maximum allowed under state law, the judge spoke to the harrowing nature of the case. This is probably the worst series of facts I've probably ever heard in a courtroom. I keep wanting to say bar, but I think it's actually brawl bender. But I was trying because I can only imagine going to middle school with a name like brawl bender, although you might be a legend. Said during a report from, or according to a report from local newspapers. Now, the violence came to light on April 12th, 2023, after Maisner's family members were concerned that they hadn't heard from him in 2 weeks and went to his home in Crestview Drive in Summit Township. Now, there was no sign of Maisner, but family found Rodriguez living in the attic, where she had reportedly lived for several months before the murder. Now, the next days, authorities went to Maisner's home for a welfare check. In Maisner's home, investigators found a section of carpet and padding that was missing, possible human tissue, blood spatter, cleaning items, and bleach-stained clothing. Erie-based ABC and Fox affiliates reported. Now, police also reportedly found bizarre writings on the walls of the home. In the fire pit, investigators found an eyeglass frame piece, a picture frame, carpet foam, carpet, charred human remains, and burned bone fragments, later identified with DNA as Maisner's. Now, after Rodriguez killed Maisner, she drove the victim's Cadillac about 40 miles to his home in New York, where police arrested her on the next day for theft charges. She was then extradited to Pennsylvania to face murder charges. Now, during the questioning, she reportedly admitted to living in Maisner's attic for up to 3 months and made comments about him being dead, though she claimed to not know how or where he had died. Now, the victim's nephew, Adam Maisner, told Erie News that Maisner allowed Rodriguez to stay with him to help him around the house. He was just a laid-back kind of guy, Adam said. He was waiting to get his hip replaced. He was thinking about golfing and riding his motorcycle after that. That's all he wanted to do. Now, authorities said that they linked the suspect to the killing through her online searches that include phrases like Mike Maisner, how to shoot someone, how long does it take to burn a dead body, if you shoot someone in the head, will they die instantly, and cutting a dead body with a chainsaw. Really remember to, look incognito when you're going to be doing your Google searches of premeditation. JKD Buck, Baldwin didn't know his car was loaded, Mo. Fair point. It was Hannah's fault. In her online account, authorities allegedly found a video of the suspect getting the PIN for his for Maisner's debit card, a photo of a revolver, and photos and videos of his dead body in a pool of blood with a gunshot wound to the back of his head. Now, authorities said that the video showed the suspect wearing black and brown shoes that were found in Maisner's car in New York. She also spent nearly $600 of his money at Walmart to, get the chainsaw as you do. Now, during a preliminary hearing in August 2023, Rodriguez reportedly interrupted testimony saying, "Well, I'm guilty," and later saying, "Then I cut him up." Her defense attorney is just like, oh my God. She's like, "No, I did it and I helped. It's shake and bake and I helped. It's premeditation and no one helped." Oh my goodness. Now, Rodriguez was initially found incompetent to stand trial in January. The court cited documents and a psychiatrist who had diagnosed Rodriguez with schizophrenia during an exam in lockup and reportedly said that Rodriguez had made comments about the Bible and how cats were her best friend. The newspaper also reported that she wrote a rambling handwritten letter to her lawyer in pencil while in custody in Erie County Prison. I don't know why I acted the way I did with the body, she said in one. I'm traumatized, still am. I mean, no, just don't. In the most, and if you are squeamish at all, they don't show pictures, but this is going to be a rough one, so buckle in because I don't even know what to do with this headline, you guys. But this has to be the most beyond horrifying headline I have read. And I have done Mornings with Mo for nearly 2 years, every day finding the grossest, weirdest stories. This is one I never thought. So buckle in, you guys. A woman gave her ex-lover a cooler containing a human fetus, saying, "Here's your kid." What in the Walmart rapturology? I mean, what in the... Maybe it's Satan? I mean, I don't even think Satan's going to take credit for this one, y'all. A 29-year-old woman in Missouri has been arrested after she allegedly went to the home of her former lover and handed him a cooler containing a human fetus, telling him it contained his child. Michaela Annette Hatt was taken into custody last week and charged with one felony first-degree count of harassment in connection with the incident. Now, according to a probable cause affidavit, deputies with the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office at about 2:45 a.m. on September 18th responded to a call regarding a deceased fetus in a cooler at a residence in Lindy Lane in Waynesville. Now, speaking to authorities, the victim said he had been friends with the woman for 2 years, explaining that the two had been romantic with each other on and off, but never dated, describing their relationship more as a fling. Now, the victim said that the woman came to him, Michaela came to him about 2 or 3 months earlier, claiming that she was pregnant. However, he did not believe her because she's a known habitual liar. Then on the afternoon of September 17th, Michaela allegedly messaged the victim saying that she was losing the baby. A short while later, she picked the victim up at his home and they went out to run errands before going back to his home to eat. Now, Michaela then gave him food, which he had gotten from the Good Samaritan, where she then handed him a red and white cooler with green tape holding it closed, stating, "Here's your kid," and then driving off in her vehicle. He advised me that Michaela didn't show any sign of remorse or anything when she said it, and he believed she was making a cruel, effed up joke, and instead believed it was a cooler of drinks, but was hesitant to see the cooler contents. Now, the victim said he was afraid to look at the cooler for nearly 2 hours, but eventually asked a friend to come over and the two opened the container together. Now, after opening the container and observing the fetus, the victim then closed the cooler and called the sheriff's office. Giblets in heaven, what is wrong with people? Like, I joke about the rapture coming because of the stories I do, but this is one where I'm like, you know what? Maybe we need final form Jesus, because what in the hell is going on? Now, during the interview, authorities said that the victim had tears in his eyes and was very distraught and kept making statements such as, "This is the type of the thing you see on the internet all the time, but you don't ever think it'll happen to you. And this is effed up. I'm sorry you guys had to see this." Now, when describing what went through his mind after seeing what was inside the cooler, the victim said he was shocked and couldn't believe she would do something like that. Now, deputies said the cooler did appear to contain a human fetus and called the coroner to gather the container for both evidence and testing. Now, the felony harassment charge stems from Michaela allegedly causing the victim severe emotional distress. Now, she is being held on a $50,000 bond and scheduled to appear in court on October 28th. Just what is going on? I mean, good night, nurse. Well, in an update, it does look like, and I didn't stick with the Murdaugh trial, so I really don't know beyond like the ins and outs, but it does look like one of Alex Murdaugh's money people has been adjudicated for his role in helping the money parts of the crime. A former banker and accomplice of Alex Murdaugh has learned his fate after pleading guilty to 8 felony charges stemming from financial crimes committed alongside the convicted murderer. A South Carolina judge sentenced Russell Lafitte, a former CEO of Palmetto State Bank, to 13 years in state prison on Monday. Now, the sentence comes after prosecutors say that Russell exploited his roles as court-appointed conservator for Murdaugh's personal injury clients and chief of Palmetto State Bank to funnel over $2 million of fraudulent transfers from clients to both Murdaugh and himself. Now, Russell would then label the transfers as loans while also cashing in on tens of thousands in conservator fees from his victims without providing any basic fiduciary services. So basically, he was stealing their money and not doing anything. Now, Monday's sentencing marks the end of a years-long battle between Russell and his victim. After Russell was reportedly the first to face federal charges as investigators look to take Murdaugh down for both the financial and the murder case that he had. Now, last month, Russell was handed a federal 5-year sentence after pleading guilty to charges of conspiracy, bank fraud, wire fraud, and misapplying bank funds relating to his business dealings. During the federal trial, Russell testified that he simply did what Murdaugh asked him to and was unaware of the disgraced lawyer's financial schemes. You're a banker. You're not that dumb. Now, a federal jury convicted Russell of 6 charges in November 2022, including wire and bank fraud. His conviction was then overturned in 2024 after an appeals court determined that a juror had been improperly dismissed during deliberations. In April 2025, Russell reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors and agreed to pay $3,555,884.80 in restitution to his victims. Now, 8 years of Russell's state sentence will be served concurrently with a federal sentence, with the remaining 5 years set to be suspended if he completes 5 years of probation and 350 hours of community service. Now, the case stems from 3 separate grand jury indictments in which Russell was accused of conspiracy, computer crimes, breach of trust involving 3 separate victims, and the case also implicated convicted accomplice Corey Fleming. Now, prosecutors reportedly revealed that Russell's misappropriation of funds allowed Murdaugh to pay off fraudulent loans and personal debts, further cementing his assistance, was pivotal in allowing Murdaugh to keep his financial crimes in motion over several years. Based on the hard work of so many since he was first indicted by the South Carolina grand jury in April 2022, Russell has had to stand both in state and federal court and admit the frauds he committed that enabled Alex Murdaugh, said prosecutor Creighton Waters. Whether lawyer or banker, if you use your privilege and responsibility in South Carolina to breach the trust of those you're supposed to protect, you will end up an 8-time convicted felon like Russell. Now, Murdaugh is currently serving life in prison for the 2021 shotgun murders of both his wife and son at the family's sprawling Low Country estate. Now, as I said, I did not get very into the Murdaugh trial, so I don't know in what relation he was other than kind of the, gloss over financial kind of launderer to get Alex the money. And I know that people have some thoughts about Alex Murdaugh and his responsibility or his role in his family's murder. That's not a case I followed. It's one of the cases I have to look at later, but I didn't follow it when it was current. Well, talk about, someone needs confession. A bishop was forced to resign after being accused of having not 1, not 2, but 17 secret lovers. A Peruvian bishop submitted his resignation to Pope Leo after a Vatican investigation revealed that he was secretly dating multiple women simultaneously. 51-year-old Circo Quespi Lopez, the Bishop of Juli in Peru, now stands accused of having up to 17 secret lovers. Although he denies the allegations against him as part of a defamation campaign by quote-unquote dark hands, Lopez handed in his resignation to the Pope last month, more than 2 decades earlier than Catholic bishops usually retire. Now, the Vatican investigation began after an investigation by Kevin Manaka, a journalist for a Peruvian newspaper, that found that, Bishop Lopez had been exchanging explicit messages, photos, and videos with various women. On top of that, he accidentally sent the pictures and videos intended for his mistresses to his house cleaner, who alerted the Catholic Church. Talk about, wrong send and it cost you everything. A nun who was one of his lovers was jealous of a lawyer the bishop was also seeing and sent information about his affairs to a third lover who got in fights with the lawyer, said the Peruvian journalist who has seen a Vatican document on the investigation. It was a real soap opera, but it also lifted the lid on serious abuses of power. Many of the 17 women were too scared to come forward because they were frightened of him. In April of last year, we received information that one of the bishop's alleged lovers had practically come to blows with another young woman. That was the trigger. The case came to light because the woman found out that the bishop had been dating several of them at the same time, and that had infuriated all of them. Now, Quispy is believed to have accidentally sent his house cleaner pictures and videos intended for his mistresses, which only confirmed her suspicions. The woman promptly filed a complaint to the Catholic Church, claiming she had seen the woman's hair in the shower and his sheets had stains which she had to clean. In light of all this evidence, he was forced to hand in his resignation as a bishop, even though he still denies the charges against him. Yes, they're all lying. Every single woman's lying about you, dude. Sure. Well, if you're over, the nostalgia for the 80s, might I bring you back to the early 90s? The iconic 90s club, the Roxbury, is making its return. Soon you can again have a night at the Roxbury. The iconic Los Angeles nightclub, popular amongst stars in the 1990s, is making its return. We're told that the legendary Sunset Strip hotspot, originally attracting celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, John Bon Jovi, and Neve Campbell, will soon have a new home in San Diego. The Roxbury's original proprietor, Ellie Samana, has partnered with Jim Valdez, the founder of the Cowboy Cantina, to resurrect the exclusive venue. The Roxbury isn't just a nightclub, it's a cultural time machine. We're bringing back the energy, style, and excitement that made the original club iconic, delivering it with a bold contemporary twist. He added that San Diego is a perfect city to relaunch this brand and set a new standard for nightlife. Holy cow! Chuck Norris looks the same. That being said, that is a pretty slick look, Chuck Norris. We hear the reimagined space will feature dynamic fusions of retro nostalgia and modern luxury. That sounds awful. With an occupancy of 400 people, the revamped club will feature floor-to-ceiling LED light walls, state-of-the-art sound systems, and luxurious private loungers for more VIP experience. Now, partygoers can expect an immersive entertainment area with cutting-edge technology and a fresh lineup of world-class DJs. If they don't have Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan opening this, I will protest. It will protest. San Diego's nightlife, especially in the gas lamp, is thriving, innovative, and more popular than ever, Valdez says. Our location sits at the heart of all of that in one of the city's most iconic spaces, right in Nightlife Central. Now known for its long entry lines and difficult door, the Roxbury became the playground for the glitterati from 1991 to 1996, with notable A-list guests in the past including Patrick Dempsey, Tori Spelling, Shannon Doherty, Mark Wahlberg, Clint Eastwood, and Denzel Washington. The nightclub famously served as the backdrop for Madonna's famous Deeper and Deeper music video in 1992 and inspired a recurring Saturday Night Live skit series called The Roxbury Guys, which was based on the trendy club and starred Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. The comedians portrayed two guys that would go to the nightclub and unsuccessfully try to pick up women while bobbing their heads to Hathaway's song, What is Love? In 1998, Farrell and Kattan released a film based on the sketch called A Night at the Roxbury, ultimately solidifying the Roxbury's footprint in pop culture. So hopefully you have gotten from today's news a bit of headlines, true crime, the absurd, and A Night at the Roxbury. I am going to be over on Megan's today, and I need to see if she's put up a stream yet so I can send you guys over there so I can be a professional. Like one day it'll happen. Not today, but someday. Eventually. It is cold and yucky outside. I'm not liking this fall thing. It feels like we've gone directly to winter, and I am not a fan of this. I am not liking this at all. At all. Alrighty. Well, it looks like she hasn't put her stream up yet, but that's where I will be hanging out today. I should be also finishing up with helping Mr. Mo get the vanity going, so I should be able to get started on our new crafting channel, Mo in the Craft End, and show you guys how to set up a kit, how to look at your supplies, and get into that kind of stuff. Of course, we will also be working on our, puppet of craziness for Megan's trial here soon on the craft channel. So those videos will be worked on this weekend once I actually get my craft desk, free of all of the pieces and parts for the vanity that Mr. Mo is putting together. I am going to go check on the soup and make sure that it's still going well and do a couple things before I head on to Megan's. She doesn't have a stream up yet, but hopefully she will get one on, and I will see you guys there. This weekend, we will be doing a Donna reacts to her own, sentencing. So I just have to check a couple of things with Mr. Mo about the times, but we will be doing that, and hopefully you guys will come hang out and have fun. Thanks for spending your morning with me. Remember, be kind to yourself, kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because kindness doesn't equal doormat, and honest to God, if you have an old cooler, don't open it. Good night, nurse. These stories are incredibly insane, but come back tomorrow and I'll have more crazy stories. Bye, you guys.